Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are so excited to have Dr. Ted Davis joining us here today live on the show. He's a leadership coach at Grace Strategic Services based out of Leavenworth, Kansas. He's helping so many people, especially CEOs, corporate executives, entrepreneurs, business owners. People maybe are just in transition, but he's here to help you in so many ways. Go to grace4success.com. That's grace, the number 4success.com. And welcome to the show today. How are you, Dr. Ted?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you and share some thoughts and ideas with your listeners.
Well, we are excited to get to know you first. And before we talk about all the amazing work you're doing and the people you're helping, I have to go back to, the younger day, right? I want to hear a little bit about, kind of what set you up for this role in life to help so many people. So would you mind sharing a little bit of your background with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess the foundational thing for me would be I had the great honor and privilege to attend the military academy, the United States Military Academy at West Point, and certainly learned a lot there. It was the ideal setting for me to learn about leadership, to meet some really great leaders, make great friends, and to start the process of maturing, both as a leader and eventually as an academic. So I think that was foundational. But then my 22-year career in the U.S. Army, from 1974 to 1996.
Oh, my gosh.
And I had the privilege to work with a lot of great leaders.
Oh, tell me, where exactly were you?
Well, I started my career after I was an infantryman, so I started my career at Fort Benning, where I went through the airborne school, infantry officer base, Granger School. All of that was great instruction as a young lieutenant, getting ready. And then my first active duty assignment was at Fort Carson, Colorado.
Wow.
I had a wonderful job as a lieutenant, and quite fortunately, the Lord blessed me. I met my wife, we've been now married for 48 years. Our first son was born there while we were at Fort Carson. So after that, I had a 2-year tour in Korea, which was an incredibly interesting job. Even though I was an infantryman, I was displaced and working in a logistics command, and learned a lot about the Army and learned a lot about leadership through influence when you don't have the chain of command. I mean, when you have the title of commander or platoon leader or battalion commander, whatever the titles are, those come with positional authority.
Yeah.
But when you're a staff officer, as I was in Korea, you lead by simply your influence. Influence of knowing your job, knowing it well, being able to share ideas, to be able to do detailed planning. So it was 2 years in Korea were just absolutely phenomenal. Then I got to go to Fort Stewart for the first time. Had 2 company commands back-to-back. Wonderful experience, great leaders, wonderful soldiers. And so I was incredibly blessed. I had a very good Army career and learned a heck of a lot throughout the years.
Well, thank you for that service, and amazing how it set you up to become a leader. Yes. And could I ask who your mentor was? How did you get in? Who kind of guided you along this path?
To become a coach, what I do now, coach, consultant, and trainer, I guess one of it, while I was still on active duty, my last assignment was at Fort Leavenworth, the Command and General Staff College, and that's what brought me to Leavenworth. And one of my roles was to be what we called academic counselor and evaluator. And it basically required coaching 16 students each year in how they navigated the year-long course, how they prepared for the next assignment. So that was the first formal training in being a coach.
Wow.
And it was a great experience. For 4 years, I got to work with 16 students each year. wide variety of what their needs were, what their ambitions were, and how to help them get there. After I retired from active duty and eventually started my own consulting business, Grace Strategic Service, I was very fortunate to meet a wonderful friend, Tony Lewis, who was at that time it was called TEC, the Executive Committee, now it's called Vistage. Anyway, he introduced me to that whole idea of, a peer group. And I got to be the coach for a group. So I was working with CEOs as their group chairman, which meant I was both their coach and their facilitator. And so I got to work with, at that time, I think all total about 36 different CEOs.
Wow.
And working with them, learning about business, learning about more about their challenges and how they handle them. It was a great experience. And then I pursued more about coaching specifically by getting involved with professional association, by working in coaching in my doctoral pursuits. So I just find that I feel I have a divine call to be a leadership coach.
Wow.
I have this passion for helping organizations improve, and helping leaders take the next step. As I say, my mission is to help managers become leaders and help leaders reproduce themselves.
Wow. Well, I was reading because you mentioned you had like this divine calling, you said, right, when you attended West Point. And would you say it was that mission of the Academy that kind of inspired you into becoming that professional Army officer, lifelong learner, and leadership trainer coach? So we really credit it to that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really did in the sense of, even though it was football that opened the door. I was, high school All-American in football when I was in high school. And I was heavily recruited. I just had when I was being recruited to the military academy, I just had a sense of, okay, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is kind of my calling in life. And it was a great place for me anyway, to flourish, to get into a profession that I loved in the Army specifically, but also to get into a lifelong pursuit, which I absolutely love doing, which is growing leaders, helping young men and women mature. And so to this day, the idea of leadership coaching, helping people clarify their personal mission statement and their business model, helping them set goals for what they really, truly need to achieve in life, helping them improve or enhance their communication skills, helping them stretch other skills, and helping them eliminate their self-limiting beliefs, helping them focus on what's important to produce the results, and then helping them gain access to the tools, support, and structures. It's for me, it's incredibly fulfilling.
Amazing. Well, we are excited that you're here and can't wait to get to know more about all the Grace Strategic Services provides. I just want to point out to reach you again, it's Grace, 4success.com, 913-306-1499. And, there's so much to you. And I know you've also shared your fair share of obstacles, which I think is something we need to also address because we all go through this in life, right? That's kind of what makes us grow as leaders. Would you agree? Could you share a little bit of your, your struggles in life and what's happened to you?
Yeah, it's, you're absolutely right. Struggles can strengthen us, depending on how we accept them. And I think as a coach, that's one of my roles is to help someone have a candid, confidential conversation where it's safe and there's no judgment for them to work through struggles. Personally, my my Army career didn't go as far as I had ambitions to do. So it was a little bit shorter than I thought. 50 years in the Army. It wasn't quite that long, but it was a good career. I have no regrets. As I often tell people, if I was 18 and had to do it all over again, I'd still go to West Point. I'd still make the Army my first career, and I'd marry the same woman. So I'm incredibly blessed. And I think that's part of overcoming struggles and challenges is if you approach it with a sense of gratitude overall. I mean, I've been incredibly blessed. And so getting over that transition of being an active duty Army officer to now being a private sector business leader, it took a little bit of doing, but I think my success was because I was open to it.
Yeah.
I knew I was making a change, and I knew I had to adopt. So I was able to take the skills I had learned as an Army officer, and I was had specialized while I was on active duty. I was an Army strategist. And so being able to take the leadership skills, the strategic thinking and planning skills, those skills are transferable, but what was necessary was to change the context, to change the scope, to change the settings.
Yeah.
So the skills are transferable. You just got to morph them into it. So I think that having that positivity was a key to overcoming those challenges. So I think those are the biggest challenges that I've had in my life.
Beautiful. Well, we appreciate you sharing that with us, and to know that you are experienced, passionate, you're helping clients really get the right results. And I want to talk more about how, you're doing this. You're helping so many, with executive coaching, engaging employees, growing leaders, clarifying strategies. So where did you want to start? I mean, I know today you wrote, having a candid, confidential conversation with a coach. You mentioned that can help someone gain clarity. So you want to talk a little bit about the process? That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned and you just reiterated, the power of a candid, confidential conversation is absolutely amazing. I never cease to marvel at how much people want to be heard. What is the power of articulating, here's the challenge that I'm having, to hear themselves say, I have doubts, I have limitations, I have fears, or whatever it is. And to be able to do that where there's safety, again, as I tell my coaching clients, there is no judgment here. I'm not here to judge, I'm only here to help you sort out. And I do subscribe to the International Coaching Federation's idea that the solutions really are within people. We need to help them kind of discover what's there. And that's where this candid, confidential conversation comes from. And is how do we help them person see for themselves what are their self-imposed limitations and how we're going to embrace them. I was working with a guy when I first got started, and he thought of himself as a loser. And he made a declaration, I am such a loser, because he was really struggling in life, going through a divorce, having to sell his businesses. And so as soon as he made that declaration, I was able to help him overcome it by challenging this label. And he had picked up this label when he was like 6 or 7. And 2 male authority figures in his life, 2 days apart, had called him a loser.
Wow.
And that mind took on that label, and now that became his identity. And he struggled with it up until the time he and I started working together. And that declaration said, "This is the identity we've got to erase." So we worked on erasing that identity, that belief, that self-limiting belief that he was a loser. And sure enough, as soon as he was able to change his personal scope, he was able to blossom. He unfortunately did divorce that one, but last time I saw him, he was engaged, and life was so much better for him. Why? Because he overcame his self-limiting belief. So I think that's just an extreme example of what can happen with coaching. Other times it's been people who are in the midst of career change, having doubts, and it's helping them reassess themselves and put a plan together.
Yeah.
What is it you're going to learn? What's the next thing in life, and what do you got to learn, and how are you going to go about doing that? And helping them realize that it's all doable. Young men and women can adopt new identities that are positive, that can help them as leaders, because obviously as a leader, you help motivate other people. So to find personal motivation that can be and enthusiasm, and that can be shared with other people, that's the power of, I think, what coaching helps with.
Beautiful. Well, we are, glad that you're here helping so many. Let me just ask, when did you start this company? When did you start coaching? I mean, I feel like you've been coaching your whole life, kind of. But when did you start the company specifically?
Well, I started my company, Grace Strategic Services, in 1997.
Okay.
That was another struggle was my first job on retirement. I had a wonderful opportunity. I was vice president for international marketing and sales, and the company had too much vision for the amount of resources.
Okay.
And the company was highly leveraged. Really, it was basically poor management. Anyway, the board told the owner, okay, you got to downsize this thing. So all of us who were not family members, we were dismissed. So I lost my job as a vice president and had to immediately make a switch.
Wow.
And that's how I got started. A good friend of mine encouraged me to start consulting at the time, and he got me my first engagement, which was pretty cool. And so I've been at it for 27 years, and just kind of followed the market. Where were people asking for, my knowledge, my experience, my talents, and so forth? And that's kind of what rekindled the idea of being now coaching. And the older I get, the more I like coaching. I still like to consult, but I like coaching more, coaching and training. So that's kind of more about how I got into it. And
well, let me ask what happened with, the pandemic, because I feel like so many people have changed or trying to grow different businesses. They struggled so much. And I'm sure you can attest to many clients that had to go through a lot of loss and a lot of change to revamp a whole new career.
It really was. The pandemic, I think some people flourished because they found opportunities. I'm very fortunate that I'm a member of an organization here in Kansas City called Hellsberg Entrepreneurial Mentorship Program, HEMP for short. Great organization founded by Garnett Hellsberg from Hellsberg Jewelry. And anyway, when we went through the pandemic, and all these young entrepreneurs who are the mentees are struggling. Well, one lady, one of the entrepreneurs, a very unique business. She specialized. Her business was making custom bikinis for women who were in the bodybuilding industry.
Okay.
And I went, it just struck me. Wow, I didn't realize there was a large enough market that you can make a living off of making customized bikinis. Anyway, so now, there's no competition, so there's no one needing a bikini right now. So she switched and started making face masks, because she had all the resources, the material, the sewing machines, all this other stuff. So she adapted to what the situation was. And I always found that fascinating, how quickly she found a new market. Eventually, after the pandemic, she returned to her original business. But I think that's another example of combination of peer coaching, peer relationships, peer mentoring, and coaching. All these entrepreneurs survived, and some really thrived magnificently through the pandemic because they were resourceful, because they listened to other people, they sought good advice.
Yep.
Because I think one of the essence of being a good leader is humility.
Oh, absolutely. Not everybody has that. Yes.
Humility enables someone to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
It acknowledges, hey, I'm good at what I do, but I don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And what I don't know, I need to go ask about. And so to watch these young entrepreneurs, or to help them with the entrepreneurs I've had to work with, just been an incredible experience. That when they acknowledge what they know, they understand what they don't know, and they go find experts in the field to ask, and then they apply it.
Yep.
It's that magic of leadership, humble leadership. I love Jim Collins' 5 levels of leadership, and level 5 leader is someone who has the paradoxical blend of strong will and humility. And I just love that phrase. You know, it seems like a paradox. How can you be humble and still be a great leader? You know, there are a lot of great leaders. I think one of the great that we know was the late General Colin Powell. Magnificent Army officer, and then of course he was a statesman and so forth. Powerful leader, and he was empowered by not only what he knew and his talents, but he was humble about it.
Absolutely.
And, so I think he's the ultimate example in my lifetime of a humble leader.
Beautiful. Well, we consider you one, and there's so many great contacts, I should say testimonials, on your page, and it's really exciting to hear, what people are saying. For example, there's Smitty Belcher from CEO of P1 Group says, P1 Group has been working with GSSI for over 15 years. Ted's combination of academic and real-world business experience gives him credibility in assisting businesses. With Ted's guidance, coaching, confidentiality, and professionalism, P1 Group has improved our operations, our leadership team, and overall our bottom line. Let me just read another one if you don't mind. Marilyn Wiles, from CEO of Enlighteneering, says, for the past several years, Ted is one of the Enlighteneering highly sought-after coach in our coaching network. I personally worked with Ted to support a client in the federal government. He is always prepared and is always ready to support ENL in just a moment's notice. Our clients have given him the highest praise in the work that he has done. He's been a tremendous asset to our network and to the clients that he's coached. We are so proud that he is in our network of coaches. So I would love to hear, if you don't mind, a customer story, testimonial related of how you're helping people. But I got to take a super quick break. Let me do that in 1 second. I want to remind everyone to contact you, graceforsuccess.com. Is that okay?
Yes.
Beautiful. Stay tuned, everyone. We will be right back after this super quick break.
You don't become a 117-year-old automaker in this country by refusing to change. The Ford Motor Company does not resist, deny, or ignore change. We pledge to make our most iconic vehicles electric, to use 100% renewable energy across all global manufacturing plants by 2035, to stand for lower greenhouse gas emissions, to stand with Americans and for the planet.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are back here with GSSI. That's Grace Strategic Services, and Dr. Ted joining us here. That's Dr. Ted Davis talking about the work he's doing for so many in leadership positions like CEOs, corporate execs, entrepreneurs, business owners, and really giving, perspective and helping them clarify, set goals, and overall improve the overall success of themselves and their company. So welcome back. We have just 3 minutes left in the show. So did you want to share a testimonial, a story of someone you've worked with, or what else did you want to make sure we cover for today's show?
Yeah, you asked about kind of a testimonial or an example. I was working with one executive who was living in the Washington, D.C. area, and he was getting ready to go through a career transition, but he was moving on to the next leadership position. And he was struggling with some self-doubts. And so we were working on those and trying to get some clarity on what they were, how to eliminate them. And he was doing great progress. It just so happened he was taking his daughter cross country to go to university. She was entering university, I think, out in Utah. And so they're going to be passing right by here in Leavenworth. And as we were talking, he decided, okay, can we have a coaching meeting live, instead of online? And so we met for breakfast, and he brought his daughter because he wanted to meet me and for me to have a coaching session with his daughter so she could talk through some issues that she was struggling with. And it was such a unique experience and such a compliment. I'm not sure I've ever gotten a compliment like that, but someone brings their child for me to be their coach as well. So that was one of the more recent examples of the joy of being a coach, is helping a second generation within the family. And I think when the leaders I'm working with right now, working with a HR manager who is doing a marvelous job. It's been a pleasure to work with her as she refined her leadership and thought about how does she come across and what's the unique role. So getting that kind of clarity. One of the things I require my leadership coachees to do is develop their personal leadership model. So I require them to define what is your definition of leadership. Because you got to absolutely know what are the behaviors. Leadership is a behavior. Leadership is a relationship. So what are the active verbs to describe how you're going to behave? So that's number one. I require that personal definition of leadership. But then secondly, I require everybody to answer the basic question of what is the benefit to being under my authority? What's the benefit to being under my leadership? And I think that's so important because Don Maxwell has a wonderful model, 5-part model, and he talks about how we go from positional power, because of the title we have, to the second level is permission. When followers give you permission to be their leaders. Now, they're never going to come to you as a leader and say, oh, you're such a great leader, I'm going to let you be my leader. That conversation never happens. But subconsciously, when people feel there's a benefit, now they want to follow that leader. And so what I believe is necessary is we as leaders ought to be intentional. Here's the benefit I make sure people have. They're going to get honest answers. They're going to get unwavering support. They're going to get encouraged, whatever it is. Clear
what they should have, yeah.
Communication, and so forth. So I think it's so important to clarify what that is.
Well, thank you so much. I apologize. We are out of time. It goes so quick. It's a pleasure, getting to know you. And, I hope we get to talk more. I would love to hear more of, how you're coaching and walk through the process. There's a lot that you do. And we're thankful you're here. And I know one of your quotes you mentioned in your notes was, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. Right? And the second, the poem,
yes.
If by Rudyard Kipling. Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you so much. How would you want to leave off for today? What would you like to say to everyone?
Well, best of luck as a leader. You can always improve.
Yep.
Find a coach someplace. I mean, even Tiger Woods has a coach. So if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Pleasure getting to know you, and I hope we get to connect again. If we don't before the holiday, enjoy your Thanksgiving, okay?
You too.
Thanks so much. Dr. Ted Davis, Grace, the number 4, Success. That's graceforsuccess.com. Reach out, and looking forward to next time. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. but they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.